everyone. Today we're going to be talking with UWC, and no, it's not University of Western Cape, but United World Colleges. Can you guys hear us?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. We were having some difficulties with the mic earlier, so that's why we wanted to double check. And yes, welcome. We are working with Bush Radio. My name is Pedro. I'm a UWC alumni myself. I'm from the class of 24, Lipotin United World Colleges. So I graduated 1 year ago from United World Colleges Hong Kong in China, like southern part of China. And yeah, as an alumni myself, it's a pleasure to be able to talk about the program and be able to broadcast it and like share it to the public. So today here we have Damien and like the UWC, a representative from the South African National Committee. So if you guys could introduce a bit of yourselves and what is UWC?
Okay, Vyshaal, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I'm Damien. I'm a 24 graduate from the United World College of East Africa. I was the first South African student to go to this college under their UWC title. They transitioned from an international school to a UWC in 2022 when I first entered. And yeah, I'm really glad to be an alumni of this institution. It did make schooling 6 months longer than what it was supposed to be, but definitely worth it.
Perfect. And I'm Vyshaal. I am the co-chair of the UWC National Committee, along with Tefo and Pumla. And I'm also a graduate. I graduated in 2014, so 10 to 11 years ago from UWC Adriatic, which is one of our schools in Italy. And I also have taught in UWC Atlantic, and I will be transitioning to our other sister school in the Netherlands, UWC Maastricht, as a global politics and economics teacher.
Thank you so much. And UWC Maastricht is a very beautiful campus. I hope you have a great time there. I went there for my winter break. It's very, very nice. And yeah, can you guys explain a bit how did the selection process work for you, and what are the requirements for the South African National Committee, and what are the phases and the deadlines?
Yeah, of course. So just to give a quick overview, we have a 3-round process, and it starts with initial screening of applications, which are usually due by the end of December, perhaps beginning of January. Just depends on when we also get information from our head office based in the UK. And after that, we move on to a provincial round where we gather the best candidates from around the country into the provinces, and they're usually clumped in Gauteng, KZN, and the Western Cape. And depending on where you are in the country, we try to get you to come to those provincial interviews. And from there, we do a final selections, which usually happen around March in Johannesburg. And that's where we select our final candidates for either unfunded places, fully funded, or partial scholarships, depending on what we have received from our schools internationally.
So for those that are tuning in now, we are from Morning Cruise, and we're talking with Damien and Vyshaal, representatives of the United World Colleges South African National Committee. And
I'm Laure. I'm an intern in Bush Radio. And the last question, were there any myths or misconceptions about the selection process that you think should be cleared up?
Yes, I think a common misconception, at least in UWC Brazil, is that you need to do LALA, which is the Latin American Leadership. I don't know if here people think they need to do the ALA, which is the African Leadership Academy. So what are some misconceptions that people have?
Okay, so I didn't get in. I wasn't part of African Leadership Academy when I got in. So I think some of the maybe common misconceptions about this is that you need to really be a top academic student all of the time, and you need to be dedicated to your books. And I don't think that's the case. I think what the selection committee looks for is someone who's more whole-rounded, really, someone who can be a good academic, but also someone who's very community-driven, and someone who is willing to put in that extra time, but also take time to themselves and balance themselves out quite well. So maybe that's one of those misconceptions, is that you need to be a top academic, and you really don't. While it does help, it's not necessary. And you don't have to be part of the African Leadership Academy. I don't believe that it favors your application in any way. Yeah.
Yeah. I would also add on to that we are really trying to expand our reach into to try and get as many South Africans between the ages of 16 to 18 to apply to this program. We really see how students have gone through these colleges and have been able to do quite amazing things. The network that they build is absolutely incredible. The skill set that they develop just by the interculturalness and their ability to connect with others is something that you won't necessarily be able to find in many places in the world. And these schools provide the opportunity for that. And if you're lucky enough to apply to the United States, there's also a Davis Scholarship Program that helps students to help fund their studies in the United States. But with the University Guidance Counselors you have at each of the schools, they will help guide students to the best location for them, depending on what it is they want to study and where they want to be in their future. And as Damien said, we don't look for just the top academic students. We're looking for those who have a mindset that's willing to understand and connect with others, a mindset of wanting to learn and to develop themselves. And if you are very good at academics, that's obviously going to put you up in the rankings because the International Baccalaureate is quite a tough academic syllabus. And I know that because I'm a teacher as well, so I know how much work our students have to put into it to do really well. But we are looking for quite a well-rounded student as well.
Yeah, definitely. The IB still gives me nightmares to this day. And yeah, even though it's been a year, I graduated. And yes, and talking about the IB, can you guys explain a bit of the classes that you took? And also beyond that, what are some service projects or the CAS activities, project weeks, and then like this outdoor expeditions that we have in the program?
Okay, so yeah, my campus was actually, I think, one of the more outdoorsy type ones. So I took the science track through the IB. I did chemistry and life sciences as my two science subjects. And then I did economics, English literature, and Spanish. Although my Spanish at the moment isn't where it should be. It was a fun course to take. And then on top of that, your usual theory of knowledge courses, and then CAS and stuff. So I did, I really dug my fingers deep into this and really took hands full. I think my CAS portfolio totaled 32 items. And I really did some really cool things. So I started a service project on the coast of Tanzania where we were rebuilding the coral reefs. It was a major issue there, and I really liked the marine biology aspect and engaging with the community. At times difficult because all they know is Swahili, and trying to learn Swahili while you're an English speaker is a bit tough sometimes. And then getting them to understand that we're trying to just help the environment by bringing all this fancy equipment with, and not trying to destroy it more than it already is. I did other things like climb Mount Kilimanjaro as well. That was super cool. And then some other things like student governance, that we set up a student government as one of the initial things at this UWC in East Africa. And that was a real challenge at first, getting the buy-in of students, but eventually I think it worked out for the better, and we've got a really strong student government this year. that are really making some big changes in the school regarding consent practices and our sexual harassment protocol on the campus. So that was a really big leap for the school. But now doing all of that has given me such a great scope into what I'm studying in university now, because I'm now doing biochemistry and human physiology at the University of Cape Town. And Ivy did help me in my first semester. It wasn't as tough as what most students had it, for sure. But genuinely, I'm getting so much out of the experience because I can understand the complexity of things because Ivy helped with that. But I'm also doing other things like climbing mountains because I've had experience with that before, and I'm diving because I've had experience with that. So UWC gave me a high school career unlike any other. Yeah, that's what I've got to say.
Thank you, Damien. Yes, for sure. UWC teaches a lot from all different areas, both academically, both socially, and also different skills. Like for me, I think I took for a year Hong Kong Sign Language. Although I don't remember much, and it's like, why? Like, in what other place I would have the opportunity to take such a niche and specific, like, skill, you know? And
Absolutely.
Yeah, what were for you one, like, those eye-opening moments or, like, incredible moments that made you feel that was worth going to the UWC, moving out in such a early age? I think for me, I would say it was the first week during orientation week where we had the ICE, which stands for International Cultural Evening, and we had like mini shows and like all these cultural performances. And for me, it was my first time, like, it was incredible seeing all these students my age being able to perform and doing such like a great show and all the diversity. So that was for me the first moment that was like, wow. And I will not forget that feeling. Like, so yeah, what was that moment for you, or what moment made you realize it was worth doing all of this?
My gosh, I think that's quite a difficult question as well to think about one specific moment. But I mean, if I have to just try and paint a picture for some of the listeners who are coming from the South African education system, one of the big differences that when you arrive, you notice is this level of trust and freedom that you get as a student, the way that you're able to build relationships with your teachers and other members of the school community is something that is non-hierarchical, which is something that we are kind of used to in the South African education system. And also the freedom that you have to dictate your own subject choices, as well as what you do with your own free time. There's nothing sort of constraining upon you. There's a lot of freedom that's given to you to make your decisions for yourself. And I think that's really helped to become much more of an independent person once I left. I went to New York University, Shanghai campus, and I moved from a little village into this one of the biggest cities in the world. And I had to navigate that. But the skills that I learned as a student by interacting with my fellow peers and the way that I dealt with my interactions with teachers and the intercultural communication that I developed helped me to navigate my life as a student in Shanghai. And as a teacher now, when I look at my students, I think some of the most amazing things that makes it to me seem like it's all worth it is just seeing them carry on the value system and the mission, how ambitious they are to create change in the world and to transform systems, and to make a difference in their local community or on a global scale, depending on where they are. There are some amazing projects that students do, both service-wise or taking a gap year or during the summer period, that is just very transformative and really wonderful to see as both an alum, but as an educator as well.
Yeah, I think for me, I had a Korean roommate and a roommate from Bangladesh in my first year. And it was the weirdest contrast in a room that you could ever have. This white South African going to a country in Tanzania and his Asian roommates. I never knew there were so many different ways to use chopsticks. I think that is my first experience with UWC is learning that cultural diversity. And I think learning how to assimilate into different cultures was a big thing. On my campus, we had 49 different nationalities, over 400 students. So every 10th person is a different nationality, which is, that's a crazy statistic. And I don't think that you get much of that in South African schools. I certainly didn't. I came from an all-boys school in Johannesburg. And to go to this co-ed school in a little village at the base of Kilimanjaro in Tanzania was worlds apart. And I think the mission statement that UWC tries to get across is both one of cultural diversity, but also intellectual curiosity. So I think that was a big thing when I was in school, is that you're curious about the world around you and its interworkings, but you're also curious about how my culture fits into it and how others fit into that and how you fit into theirs and the interconnectedness of it all. And navigating that in the beginning was a challenge, but towards the end of the 2 years, I consider myself an international student, even though I am in my home country studying now. But it's an experience unlike any other.
Still tuning in on Bush Radio 89.5 FM, the mother of community radio station in Africa. So in studio, by the way, though, just to clear it up, it's UWC is not a University of the Western Cape. It's United World Colleges, where students all over the world, they tend to meet in different places, from villages. For what Bush Radio has been doing also with having interns internationally. Law is from the Caribbean. She's here with us. She's also, I feel like she's kind of like United World Colleges, the way you guys are doing it. She's learning South African culture. When are you leaving Law again?
I'm leaving in August.
Oh, she's leaving at the end of August, right? When? When in August?
7th.
Oh, on the 7th of August. So, yeah, man. So, it's we have Pedro all the way from Brazil. So, yeah, I want to know from you guys quickly, why all of a sudden now, we've seen it obviously with international students that will be coming to South Africa, but why it's also important for South Africans, to explore other parts of the world and learn more about other cultures?
I think one really big thing is that, South Africa has so much to offer. And when we send our students abroad, we want them to share the value system that we grew up in South Africa, to share the spirit of Ubuntu, to share the transition that we've had from a very difficult past into a more positive future. And Nelson Mandela also played a very big part in the United World Colleges. He was an honorary president. And so his legacy still lives on in the movement. And the more South Africans that we can get across, the stronger that our presence can be, the stronger that they can learn from how we as a nation have moved on, and how sort of the reconciliation that we've had, the practices, and we're hoping that students can share that vibrancy that we have as a nation, to share our music, to share our dance, and just to share the way that we think and the way that we're able to connect with one another. I mean, South Africa is an amazing country, and I think the world deserves to have more South Africans, or more exposure to South Africans, just because we're amazing. We're an amazing group of people.
Couldn't have said that better. I think the founder of the United World Colleges had this quote that I lived by during my 2 years, and it kind of kept me going in those late night study sessions. Curtin said that there is more in you than you think. And I think that's what UWC gives South Africans, that little bit more that you didn't know existed, but the opportunity to show our culture, but also experience different cultures and what makes up the entirety of the South African culture. Yeah.
Thank you. And definitely Kurt Hans still lives amongst all of us and all the alumni. And to wrap it up, because we're running out of time, what are some post-UWC opportunities? You guys mentioned that New York, Shanghai, I've got mixed up. And also you went back to University of Western Cape. But like, what are some other opportunities? Also the UWC Hub. Can you explain what being a Davis Scholar or a Davis alum feels like, and what is it?
Yeah, so being a Davis Scholar will get you to be part of a cohort of students in the United States of America, because they have a partnership with many different universities. And the way that it works, it's quite amazing in the sense that the more UWC students, so United College students that a university has, the higher the level of funding that college gets from one of these big philanthropists that we have. I wasn't a Davis Scholar because I studied in China. Even though I went to New York University, I went to the campus in Shanghai. But the fact that I came from a UWC helped set me apart from many other applicants across the world because of what I learned in my time at that school and what I was able to offer to a new campus that was being developed. But there are plenty of opportunities once you have left. And like I said, with the university guidance counselor in year 11 and year 12, or year 12 and year 13, depending on where you're from, they will help guide you on the pathway that's best for you. Some people go into entrepreneurship programs, some take gap years and do some really cool, amazing things, such as you, Pedro, already interning here at Bush Radio. People go on to do service projects. Or they go into amazing universities and start their academic journey and academic career.
Yeah, I think the most recent ones, there's some really fantastic gap year programs at the moment. A couple of my friends actually, Barre scholars, they looked for UWC students high and low. And I think it's a cohort of about 120 students that are currently traveling the world over a year. So that's really cool. I think not only Davis scholars, but UWC students kind of have a more easy into some universities because of the caliber of student that UWC produces at the end of your 2 years. And like I said, it is the first year is a bit easier on you because you've been to a UWC than what most people would find it, in university at least. But the opportunity after UWC is so widespread that it's difficult to just give you set and concrete examples sometimes.
Okay, thank you so much. For sure, Barrett Scholars, I have 2 friends that are doing it. Also, semester at sea, I'll be taking next spring. It's very, very cool. There are a bunch of opportunities. Tilting Futures, that's the one I'm currently interning right now. And they also have partnership with the UWC movement. So yes, thank you so much, Damien, Vyshaal. It's a pleasure having you here and being able to spread